From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday with breaking news you're going to hear for the first time in this noontime recording, right live from Santa Monica, but from Washington, the details of your fourth stimulus check of 20 updated 2021 today. With a big shocker minutes ago as AOC tells everyone the RECON needs to vote first. OMG, yes. In this recording, we'll go over the RECON, which passed a House subcommittee of the Budget Committee on Saturday. Cluster number 1's checks passed. Cluster number 2's checks passed. And cluster number 3's checks passed. Checks for seniors, checks for workers, checks for independent contractors, checks for bikes, cars, vehicles, but nothing for electric surfboards. They got incredible checks in there, including $51,000 of MSCs, prescription medication, and checks for free internet. Late last night, a vote was to be called on the roads and bridges. It didn't get called because the progressives blocked it. Nearly 60-plus progressives ready to vote it down. The president calling members of his caucus, House and Senate Democrats, into emergency meetings right after this video. They were announced minutes ago. Meantime, Kristen Sinema out of town. Where is she going? I'll have the latest details. A big surprise as AOC comes out and says, you know what are you doing? You need to vote first on the RECON, not the roads and bridges. This is the problem. This is the issue. This is the solution. Wow, it's getting incredible great news. Meantime, big updates. As Chuck Schumer's office confirms to one viewer of this channel, he's inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check. That's confirmed this week also by Bernie Sanders' office again, AOC and Jolly Pauls and the Progressive and Bernie and Liz Warren going for a big win last night for the Progressives and your RECON blocking the roads and bridges. And at the time of this live recording, they're not yet calling the vote on the roads and bridges whatsoever and may not be voting on it at all. It's getting great. It's getting really wonderful news. I have all the details as we go into a big noontime. And the noontime excitement starts right here, right now at noontime. Hey, good noontime, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day across the planet. Thank you for joining me. Hope the weather is good where you are. The weather is very heated up in D.C. right now as the president calls House, Senate Democrats into separate meetings right now into his offices. Those were announced minutes ago as a Democratic breakup between progressives protecting your RECON and moderate Democrats protecting the roads and bridges reaches an impasse last night. No impasse breakthrough today and may not likely to break through an impasse just yet. This is huge. As AOC says, vote first on the RECON. You'll get a solution to the problem right away. Wow. In this recording, we'll go over all these incredible checks that got passed last Saturday. In a subcommittee of the House, cluster number 1's checks passed, including money for hazard pay, money for up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person, checks, bikes, and cluster number 2, 3, and more money across the board. Then we'll be cutting to the dramatics that happened last night. We'll be going over those monthly IRS stimulus checks that no less than 1,000 viewers have been told and reassured this week they're going in there. Then we cut to the big dramatics of what's happening later today. It's changing by the hour, on the hour, and I have the latest details you're hearing for the first time at noontime, not covered no less than 2 hours ago at mornings. And this is LA, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. A week ago, on a Saturday night, the House Budget Committee passed your RECON, $3.5 trillion of checks. And I delivered the breaking news to you when it happened. Broadcast media never even mentioned it. Print media never mentioned. Any other YouTube channels never ever mentioned it. Throughout the days, throughout the week, I have been going on air every hour on the hour, practically, delivering you the latest nuances of what happened. Last night, I cut into an Overnight's Crypto show to go over the breaking, developing details. And the news delivered at Mornings LA, totally different now, 2 hours later. and you're hearing it for the first time at noontime. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record for a reason. I want you part of this incredible family. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's first go over the recon passed on the House. Then we're going to go over the developing details happening last night and minutes ago. And then we'll be going over those monthly stimulus checks. And here we go. Passed. $3.5 trillion recon passing the House Budget Committee last Saturday. The recon is money for you of all kinds of people. It is not pandemic related, and it is not for one group of people. It's for everyone, for every purpose. Cluster number 1 passed, 2 passed, and 3 passed. Let's go over each of those 3 clusters, and then we go over those monthly stimulus checks that even Schumer's office confirmed yesterday are going in there. First cluster passed are hazard pay, seniors, cars, home, and also students. Let's go over the details. First, hazard pay got in there. They're modifying an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit to broaden the eligibility so that more people qualify for it as essential workers, and then paying out more money per year. They got up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. Huge. And on the other side, up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. They got money in there to fix the home. If you're in a low-income community, the federal government will give you free money to fix the home. Then they got money in there for college students. College grants directly to the student, to the university, and also make the Pell Grant tax-free. $51,000 of monthly MSC checks got in there as well. The CTC, the Child Tax Credit, made a lifetime. We've broadened the eligibility so then non-biological parents also qualify for the money. How much does it pay? For every time that family remains a low-income household, you get up to $300 a month per month every year for up to 18 years per child, and that's $51,000. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacture. Up to 15% of the purchase price for a new electric bike. Up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle for personal use. A little bit more for business use, and then also a truck for electric use. There you go. In a second, we'll go over cluster number 2, checks passed, 3 checks passed, and the inclusion of that IRS monthly stimulus check that 1,000 viewers have been told this week as well. Even Leader Schumer's office confirming that as well. But let's take a detour for just a second to third stimulus. As additional cash infusion of $13 billion is going out to cities, counties, and states for rent. That money I want you to get, I'm going to show you how to get it later in this video. Treasury made the announcement. We're excited to provide state and local governments with these additional sums of money and times of need. Let's cut to cluster number 2's checks passed. The $3.5 trillion recon passing in a House Budget subcommittee on Saturday also included cluster number 2's checks. This starts with paid family leave and paid medical leave. Family leave, you have to stay at home because your wife's pregnant. Medical leave, you have to stay at home because your son broke his leg. How much does it pay? A lot. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year under third stimulus. Split in half. $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year. Split in half again. $400 a week if you make $15,000 a year. Wow, deliciousness. They got 12 other clusters of checks in this second cluster. 12 other types of checks in the second cluster. Build up of childcare programs, household tax credits. Then weatherizing your home checks. Definitely needed if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Because remember, you don't want the moderate Democrats in the House. Got to weatherize them out. Then we got free kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, and then tuition-free community college. Definitely needed if you don't understand what I'm saying, because now you can take the class called What the World is LATE Saying 101. You can now be bilingual in the foreign language called Los Angeles. And that is exciting deliciousness. In a second, we go over the third cluster that got in there, and also those MSC checks, IRS. But what's Congress doing? Well, what are they not doing? Minutes ago, it was announced that the president will have emergency meetings right shortly after the time of this live broadcast with House Democrats and then Senate Democrats, totally separate. What is he trying to do? What happened last night? What happened this morning? They were supposed to start voting on the roads and bridges again Friday, but they still have not. What went on last night? Last night, just as an overview, is there was an attempt to call the vote on the roads and bridges, but the vote never happened. Why? Because the progressives protect your recon. Progressives remained hard, fast, and aligned that all 60 of them would vote against the roads and bridges if it was called for a vote. By 9 o'clock p.m., it was not called for a vote. By 10 o'clock, it was not called for a vote. And finally, everyone was told to go home. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi had two choices. Either to show the American people that the roads and bridges was going down in flames, calling the vote and having it lose, pass, fail, or otherwise not calling the vote and having us all put apples together and understanding, yeah, it didn't pass because people were protecting the recon. Well, throughout the night, the president tried to get the parties to move off of their positions, had no success of it, and that's what he's doing today. Will the vote happen on the roads and bridges? So far, not yet slated. Minutes ago, Steny Hoyer, who's the number 2 guy in the House and determines the schedule of when things go for a vote, said it is not yet scheduled. And AOC coming out and saying, you know what? Schedule the vote on the recon instead of the roads and bridges. The recon has to go for a vote first because that's where the battleground is. And she's absolutely correct. I'll go over more about the dramatics from last night and what's happening later today in just a second. But let's cut to cluster number 3 checks. Passed. They got a lot of these checks in third cluster deliciousness because these were the president's cluster. They got free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for elections, checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy, checks for seniors, like lowering the eligibility age for Medicare, checks for dental, checks for vision, checks for hearing care, and then independent contractors, workers' checks. 2 of the checks in the second cluster, the president likes and I like because they're almost automatic. First, cheaper prescription medication. How would this work? Let's say you're getting a darn headache from those darn moderate Democrats. So you go to the pharmacy to fill a prescription. You take 2 $20 bills out of your wallet and you pay for it. This becomes law. Then the next time the moderate Democrats give you a headache, you may only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. Then they're going to offer free internet to city, counties, and states across the country so that if you want free internet, red, blue, purple states will offer it to you. All you have to do is say, what's the username? And what's the password? The username is Goth Gang Go Away. And the password name is Jalapal. Get 'em. Yeah, there you go. In the second half of this video, we'll be going over all the dramatics that unfolded last night. And yeah, there was a lot. And my impression of the situation from last night. Then what was said this morning, what was said minutes ago that is totally brand new at noontime. Totally brand new. And what could be happening later today. But first, let's go over that monthly IRS stimulus check. The great news is that the President Pelosi were on the same book last Saturday night. When the $3.5 trillion recon passed, they immediately said, but this is not a bill. If you want to add stuff in there, I want you to add it in there. Tell me what you want to add. Ironic, because she's the office that said the same thing to viewers of this channel last week, that she's adding a monthly stimulus check in there. This week, since Monday to now, viewers have been continually told the same assurances they were told after they advocated for the inclusion of an IRS stimulus check over the last 8 weeks. Sanders' office, AOC, Jalapal, Omar, and yes, even Chuck Schumer's office to Donnie's wife yesterday, confirming that they will be adding in monthly stimulus checks into this recon. Wow. That is on top of the 1,000 representations to viewers of this channel over the last 8 weeks. I have all the incredible details coming up in the second half of this video. And the big dramatics of what's happening with those 2 meetings by the president. Wow. It is getting very, very exciting. And AOC calling for the vote of your recon before anything else. I have all these incredible details and more as we continue the excitement. As we go into a big noontime. The excitement is far from over. What's important to understand is when you're looking at this recon, there is a lot of issues. And the number one issue is who's supporting it. And at the moment, everyone, including us. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now at noontime, live from Santa Monica as the president orders his House Democrats and Senate Democrats into separate emergency meetings right now. I'll be going over what those meetings are involving, and I'll go over all the dramatics that heated up last night. Last night, fireworks were erupting as a battle over the roads and bridges did exactly what we had hoped it to do. Didn't pass. A big victory for your RECON. A big victory for progressives. We'll be going over all the dramatics that unfolded last night and why are things getting even better today. We'll go over a little bit about a surprising new article that was published today, what it said. Then we'll be cutting over to fifth stimulus for Blink and I, third stimulus. And then we'll be going over the big exciting details as that monthly IRS stimulus check gets further reassurances from congressional leaders this week for its inclusion. It's a big known time, and I'm excited you to join me, so subscribe. You don't want to miss anything. The news cycle is changing by the hour on the hour. This video is going to look totally different than Mornings LA in just a second, because I'm going to show you what happened just minutes ago. Meantime, today we have no idea how this news cycle is going to turn out, because do we have a vote? Do we not have a vote? What's going to happen with the vote? And then guess what? The weekend, they're going to continue to do this all weekend long. So stay with me Saturday and Sunday, because we're going to have high dramatics by the hour, on the hour, Saturday and Sunday is also. So subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Meantime, stay with this video. I'll automatically take you to Afternoons LA coming up next. Let's go over all the dramatics that unfolded last night so you understand what happened. There was dramatics like you cannot imagine going into last night's voting. We were presumed to believe that there was going to be a vote on the roads and bridges somewhere around 9 p.m. Pacific Eastern Standard Time last night. So shortly before the vote was expected to start, what happened was the progressives had a meeting to reassure that they were aligned to vote down the roads and bridges. The roads and bridges vote on Thursday was the result of a Nancy Pelosi agreement with the Goth gang, moderate Democrats, a month ago that they wouldn't cause her any more problems if she set it for a vote. Well, the Goth gang, including Gothenheimer, said early in the day that it 1,000% guaranteed that the roads and bridges would pass Thursday night. Of course, it did not pass. By 9 p.m., the vote had not been called, and the progressives emerged from their meeting assuring themselves that they were going to vote down the roads and bridges. Then, out of nowhere, big surprise, as Brian Deasy and other cabinet members from the president, the guy from Yale featured on Sirloin, started to appear in the congressional chambers, first in the vice president's chambers in the Congress, and then in Chuck Schumer's office. The president asking Chuck Schumer, Kristen Sinema for the moderate Democrats, and Bernie Sanders for the progressives to meet in Chuck Schumer's chambers. Why? Reports were to try to get an agreement other than what we have as law for the RECON procedural on the RECON. Chuck, sort of strange and sort of peculiar. Bernie Sanders emerged from the meeting within just minutes, and he called the whole meeting itself an absurd idea and not the way he does business. He slammed the whole way to do this, not mentioning the president by name, of course, but saying, who has a meeting at 10 o'clock at night, about a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill and asked me to take away the progressives from voting down the roads and bridges because of some verbal promise that's not happening, that's vague and not said. I don't do business that way, Bernie says. It's absurd. I don't do business that way. Minutes after that, Jalopal, who of course is on the House, Bernie's on the Senate, came out, and she's the chair of the Progressive House Caucus, and said, you know what? If it gets called for a vote, the roads and bridges, vote it down. Be very respectful. Sit down in your seat. Do not gloat. Moreover, we are not going to agree upon something with the moderate Democrats as sort of a verbal okay, because that's not how we do business. It's very important that at that point, I think the whole night changed dramatically. Why? Because in this week, the progressives have slammed the moderate Democrats for not keeping promises. Nancy Pelosi said the moderates didn't keep their promises about the debt ceiling limit. She slammed them. Liz Warren said there was a promise from the moderates 2 months ago that we would do the recon and the roads and bridges together. The moderate Democrats not keeping their promises even days ago, weeks ago. So why would we trust them on something new tonight that's verbally said? Very fascinating statement from Jalopal, absolutely what I would say. And I think it changed the whole dramatics of the night. With that, the president stepped back on his attempt to intervene to get people to agree on things. By 10 o'clock, we were thinking that there may be a vote on the roads and bridges. There was not. And so what happened at that point? At that point, Nancy Pelosi issued a statement and said, thank you for your work tonight. Everyone thought that meant to go home. And she quickly issued a statement saying, no, you're not going to go home. And then Steny Hoyer, the guy who determines whether you go home or not, the majority of the House, said you can go home. That will resume the attempt to pass it by voting today, starting at 9 a.m. Well, it's currently 2. It's currently almost 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the House has not even gone back into session. So what did the president do minutes ago? The president minutes ago said, I want the House Democrats to meet with me, and I want the Senate Democrats to meet with me. Kristen Sinema is out of town. She's back in Phoenix for a medical procedure. So what's important to understand is that the situation is better now for your recon than it was 24 hours ago. I had told you 24 hours ago that it doesn't matter to us if the roads and bridges passes. It doesn't matter at all. But if the roads and bridges goes down in flames by either not going for a vote because there's not enough vote in favor of it, or going for a vote and failing, then you have a massive win for the recon. You got that massive win last night. You got that massive win when Nancy Pelosi chose not to call the vote on the roads and bridges because she knew it was going to fail. She has a 3-person margin of error in the House, only 3 Democrats more. She was going to lose 60 Democrats voting against it. It was never going to pass. The position of Jalopal and Bernie to basically say, here's the recon. It's passed in the House Budget Committee. It passed by recon procedural in the Senate. It's done. Stop playing games with our recon. We need assurances that the recon goes over the finish line was great. But what really worked in our benefits strangely, and you're not going to hear this anywhere else except on this channel, was that the progressives were name-called so much by the moderate Democrats in the last 48 hours that the progressives really had it in not to pass that roads and bridges. That while the progressives kept calm and kept reserved and professional, the moderate Democrats kept on calling the progressives everything in the book as time went on throughout the day, the Goth Gang and other other moderates. And so with that, what is my question, though? My question is the following. There is one news article by one publication that's nowhere else and not printed anywhere else, and it's printed in a conservative publication that usually doesn't like the president. Is the article accurate? I think it's not, but I'm going to tell you what the article said. In view of the president calling them into meetings, the article claims that during that meeting with Brian Deasy, Bernie Sanders, and Kristen Sinema and Chuck Schumer last night, the president was trying to get everyone to agree to a recon of a different price. Instead of 3.5, 2.1. Really? Why? And why does he think that that would ever work? Why does he think that any progressive would agree to it? The progressives simply want to have their recon, which as it is right now, done correctly. They don't want it to be changed in another way. And this, moreover, was in the universe. And this, and so do I think that statement happened? I don't think it happened. But what I do think is happening today, which the president really needs to stop doing, is the president thinks that he can make a verbal agreement between the moderate Democrats and the progressives, and that the progressives will accept it. They won't, because the moderate Democrats don't keep their promise. The reoccurring theme has been the moderate Democrats don't keep their promises. So what's the great news? Is that the progressives have absolutely been the voice of reason. They're protecting your recon like never before, and that with the roads and bridges not going for a vote, not set for a vote, and not likely to go to a vote, that your recon is the dominant issue. As AOC said today, the recon should go for a vote right away. It shouldn't be the roads and bridges. More about that in a second, but let's cut over to the big exciting details about your monthly IRS stimulus check. The great news is that over the last 5 days, Democrats that had made representations before they put an IRS monthly stimulus check in there to viewers who advocate for it repeated it. Bernie Sanders' office repeated it. AOC, Jalapal Omar as well. Advocacy for inclusion of stimulus checks started on this channel 8 weeks ago, and in that time 1,000 viewers have been told it's going in there. Let's go back to 8 weeks ago. At that time, the surprise was, I said to viewers, pick up the phone and advocate. And not a lot did, but WR certainly did. Picked up the phone and called Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, and advocated for the inclusion of a monthly IRS stimulus check, saying why he needs it, his family needs it, community needs it. And Senator Chris Coons' office saying, yes, you're getting a monthly stimulus check in there. Then, 3 weeks ago, this channel started to really pick up. You saw the changes on this channel with world-exclusive breaking news on the hour by the hour. And at the time, I told viewers, you know what? My reporting, I'm going to report exclusively that I believe the House will be writing the legislation first. They did. I believe that the House will vote first. I believe they are. And I believe that Bernie is critical of the equation. He is. Bernie Sanders is the guy who got the $3.5 trillion price tag. He's the guy who got your recon procedural pass at $3.5 trillion. He's the guy who got every senator to agree to $3.5 trillion. And in that week, 3 weeks ago, he told Americans, unlike prior budget chairmen of the Senate, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm doing a recon. That means he wants to hear from you. I said to pick up the phone and advocate. And at the time, Margaret did, Lynn Glenn, and Brother Joshua did. And their advocacy resulted in them being told the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. What does advocacy look like for stimulus? Let's go over some screen grabs. These are comments posted onto the channel in the live chat or sent to me by private message from some viewers. This is what advocacy looks like for a stimulus check. Margaret wrote the following. Honestly, I and the woman on the phone in the Senator's office started crying when I started explaining what I've gone through. And then another viewer breaking down saying, how can I have 10 surgeries since his passing, since my husband's passing? How is that enough? How can I raise 2 teenage daughters? How can I do this all on SSDI and SSDI only? It's not enough. That type of advocacy worked because Brother Joshua advocated for you 3 weeks ago to Bernie Sanders' office, saying why he needs it, his church needs it, you need it, this community needs it. Brother Joshua 2020 volunteers the community page. And Sanders' office saying yes. $1,000 or $1,300. It's going in there. 4 to 6 months, but needs to hear your support. That's where we step forward. Donnie's wife, in the last 48 hours, getting confirmation from Chuck Schumer's office that he will be inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check. But Donnie himself was the guy who got us all rolling after Brother Joshua. I said, Bernie says he wants to hear from you. Start reaching out. And this is what Donnie wrote at the time. Donnie wrote, I called Bernie Sanders and spoke to the secretary, and they said they're doing a forced stimulus check. I said, this is what I need. My city needs it to progress. I need it for my water and everything. I told her. And she said, okay, they're doing a forced stimulus check. Hurricane Tina writes the following. I called Bernie Sanders' office. I got through, and they did say they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn writes the following. I called Bernie Sanders' office, talked to his secretary, told her we need help, people losing their homes and what they got. And she agreed, and she said, Bernie is putting a forced stimulus check in there. And then Yaya, I got through Wyden's office. They're doing SS200 as promised. That was the face of advocacy then. And it continued as I said, you know what? You need to make as many calls as you can. And that's what Will did. Will called 3 offices in one day. I called Bernie. I called Chuck. I called Liz. And all 3 secretaries confirmed the stimulus check inclusion. And then, as to Liz Warren's office, they said $1,000. She's doing $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Lorica writing, I got through with Bob Casey's office. They said yes, they're in negotiations right now for the month of the amount of the stimulus checks. At that point, nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel have been confirmed the inclusion of an IRS monthly stimulus check from these senators' office. Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden. But we hadn't heard yet from the House members. So I said, pick up the phone, call Jalapal, Omar, and also AOC. And viewers started doing that, like Mark, who called Pelosi's office. Pelosi's office told me, writes Mark, that there would be a 4th in there for $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and that they are almost done negotiating it. The comments kept on coming on in, with Janice going over to Jayalapal's office. And they said, yes, 4 stimulus check is going in there. Paul writing, she assured me, AOC's office, they're putting it in the bill. Those comments continued by the hour and upon the hour. But the great news about this is that this is totally consistent with the situation at hand. All these 1,000+ comments the viewers have gotten from these dozen so congressional leaders, all are future tense, will be adding, going to be adding, amending, to be amended, to be added by amendment. It's consistent with also Pelosi and the president's message from last weekend and this week, which is the recon is not a bill yet. It's not a bill. It's sort of like a work in progress. I call it sort of like an envelope, not a piece of paper. It says bill on it. And if you want to add some stuff in there, you can add some stuff in there. And that's what Pelosi said all this week. You want to add stuff in there? Go ahead. Ron Wyden, Democrat, but senator, said he's going to add in there more unemployment benefits. He can add it on the Senate side during vote-a-rama, or he can have someone add it to you on the House side. And there you go. But the great news is that this week, those assurances continue because advocacy continues on this channel. Now let's cut to where we're going later today. Where are we going later today? Number 1, AOC now saying, you know what? Call the vote on the recon first. That's the way you solve all the situation. Interesting. Number 2, the vote on the roads and bridges not yet set. The House is still in recess. It's not even open and may not open if the situation doesn't change. Number 3, the president having separate meetings with the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats. Those meetings, in my opinion, will likely result in nothing because guess what? There's no commonality of thought. We had an agreement 2 months ago, says Liz Warren, Chuck Schumer, and Bernie Sanders, that we would do recon and roads and bridges for a vote at the same time. We had that agreement. Then somehow the moderate Democrats with the Goth gang got Pelosi to have only their roads and bridges called for a vote first, not holding up the agreement. I expect the Democrats in that meeting, Liz Warren, who said it yesterday, I expect her to say it again. I expect Bernie to say it again. Number 2, Bernie came from $7 trillion down to $3.5 trillion. And there is no reason to ask Democrats to do any other number than $3.5 trillion. Number 3, it's important to understand that the disrespect spent upon the progressives by the moderate Democrats has now backfired because now they've been on the receiving end of so many disrespectful comments about them by the moderate Democrats in 48 hours that no one would really want to trust them at all. Finally, what's important to understand is that the moderate the progressives really are going to bat for you. It's rare that you have a party that is in control, and yes, the progressives are in control. They're in control of the House and then control of the Senate, that they are absolutely repeating the inclusion of an IRS stimulus check, and that they're protecting your recon so that people understand your recon is the priority. In fact, those were the comments by many progressives today. Yesterday, the messaging from the progressives was, we're not against the roads and bridges, but we're more interested in the recon. Today, the message is, the recon is the important body of legislation, not the roads and bridges, and we all know it. And finally, the progressives have not fallen for any sort of the strange tactic games, and there have been since last night. Tactic game number one: start voting in favor of roads and bridges because I'll give you an informal agreement about your recon. No, I'm not going to agree to informal agreements. I'm going to have an actual passage of the recon. I'm not going to tell you you're going to informally do something. Number two, the progressives saying about the recon that, you know what, the recon goes first. It shouldn't go second. It always was to go first, or together, and now it's not even together. Now you're just treating the recon like it's a lost long child that you're not ignoring. And finally, that the progressive priorities, the checks priorities, were told by the president to them to protect it all summer long. Well, get it over the finish line. Get it over the finish line. And that is the great news. And with that, will there be a vote? Will there not be a vote? I'll have all the details later in this recording later today. But let's now turn over to third stimulus and fifth stimulus, which is getting very exciting as well. Third stimulus is getting big cash infusion, $13 billion for rent utilities. And I want to show you how to get more money for the nonprofits. I'm going to do it right now. Get the pen, paper, cell phone ready. We're going to go over the big money available on the third stimulus. This is money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and the great numbers is that viewers have now doubled, tripled, and quadrupled their returns, their monies they're getting for these items because they're getting better at it. Remember $51,000 mark? Well, guess what? Let's look at what other people like Mark were getting for rent a month ago. $20,000. Now viewers are getting $40,000 for rent in less than 30 days, a 200% increase. Mark's brother-in-law, $15,000 for utilities in the last which is a 300% increase in the last 30 days. And Mark's brother-in-law, $21,000, a snap. A 400% increase in the last 30 days. Get that paper, pen, and cell phone ready. I'm going to go over some details. First, I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. Listen to the keywords I say in this video, and then remember the nonprofits because I'm going to feature them as well. Here are the 6 places to reach out to. Each has different pots of money. Each has different eligibility. Reach out to all 6. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. Let's go over the 6 places again. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. Next, if you're a member of this channel, which I hope you are, the newsletter now features the Treasury Statement. You want to read that Treasury Statement about the $13 billion sent out because I want you to know what it is before you call up. They say we don't have it yet. They will, by the way. Then ask them, can I be on the waiting list or can I call you tomorrow? Next, get money from as many utility companies as you have. So you have 5 utilities, get it from all 5. And finally, the big exciting details, the nonprofits. Wow. They gave fortunes to viewers this channel in fall 2020, early 2021. I didn't know if they're still paying. They are. They're back in the mix on this channel. 2 viewers have gotten refrigerators from the nonprofits in the last 7 days. One got a new furnace and her window fixed. What are the 5 nonprofits? United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. What's important to understand about the nonprofits is that they pay for the same items the third stimulus has, but with different eligibility. And then they pay for extra items that aren't even in third stimulus, like clothing sometimes, homelessness into shelters, and then other items like small appliances. Here again, the 5 nonprofits, also featured in the newsletter for members. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Let's turn to SNAP. It's October. It's October. And guess what? Your SNAP is going up this month, an average of 25% lifetime automatically nationwide. There were 2 letters. One letter says your benefits are going down because that was September. The ending of the last benefits raise up, which is September. But there's a second letter, and viewers are now getting it. It says, hi, lifetime, and now your benefits go up an average of 25% lifetime. And this is incredible great news. Finally, the unemployment benefits. First, the refund check from your state due to overpayment and a computer error. That's landing. Average payment is about $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state. And finally, the refund check from IRS for that 2020 taxes you paid on the unemployment benefits. Average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cog got it, Michael got it. If you got any of these monies, post it in the live chat because when you do, you inspire other people. Meantime, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The link is under the video. Become a member because there's big money available for you. Johnny, $80,000. His friends, $100,000. Mark, $51,000. Lorraine, who got $105,000 from this channel, she got more money. She's heading to $110,000. Yes. I want you to make a promise to yourself. The member newsletter comes out daily from me to you at about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, via the YouTube alert system and the LA alert system. has all the big money available on the first, second, and third stimulus for you to get, and stuff proposed on the fourth and fifth. I want you to make a promise to yourself. Go get as much money as far into the future as possible. Even if you've got more money before, get some more. Bring it into 2022 as far as you can. Number two, I want you to lean on the nonprofits because they're not getting a lot of calls at the moment. It's early fall. It's not that cold out yet. And they're not getting a lot of calls yet. Their turnaround time is very fast, viewers are reporting. So reach out to them and get those big sums of money. If you have a success story, send it to me on private message as well. And with that, we go into the final minutes to recap what's coming up later today with the dramatics of the roads and bridges and the RECON. Number one, the RECON is getting protection better than ever before because the progressives who were protecting the RECON all along, because they were told by the president, of course they wanted to protect it, really got extra ammunition this week as the moderate Democrats kept on trash talking them at every opportunity. So the progressives really stepped forward and saying, you know what? This is actually a quote from John Paul. We had 60 votes against the roads and bridges. Now we're going to have more because that's all you keep on doing is coming after us. The moderate Democrats not showing much of anything except an inability to keep promises. Inability to keep a promise about the debt ceiling limit. Inability to keep a promise that the roads and bridges of the RECON will be called for a vote at the same time. And with that inability to keep promises, then the progressives are saying, you know what, we're not going to do anything verbally with you. We either vote on it, we don't vote on it. 2 meetings from the president causes a further question of why the president thinks that he is the ingredient to get things done. Yeah, he is the leader of the Democratic Party. Yes, he is ultimately using a swing tactic, which is, if you don't want to give me this stuff, then I'll just give you a Republican president if that's what you want. That doesn't appear to be working, that tactic, which he started yesterday. His tactic of somehow having people come together is not also working, because there's no particular reason for the moderate Democrats to move, and there's no particular reason for the progressives to move. The progressives have the better bill, the bill that Americans want, the RECON. The progressives have the support of the American people, and that the moderate Democrats are very upset that they're basically looking like not good people. And that imagery will continue because the progressives have been very good at keeping the imagery on point. Nancy Pelosi, unfortunately, has become sort of a victim in this entire situation. She should not have agreed to the Goth gang with that vote for Thursday. She actually sort of didn't keep her promise because she didn't start the voting. So she actually didn't give them the vote. She just ended debate on the roads and bridges. So she's in a hard place. Her job is to pass the president's agenda, not to be a progressive, which she really is in heart, and align with the progressives. And so she's in a hard place. But what does it mean for us? It means this weekend is going to be big dramatics. There's going to be changing, developing details on the hour, by the hour, Saturday and Sunday. Because at the moment, and this is why you want to stay here, at the moment, the House is in recess. You love these terms, don't you? I love them. The House is not in session. But guess what? They're literally working tooth and nail about this every hour upon the hour and having meetings and caucuses, meeting with the president, having another progressive meeting. And they're going to be doing it Saturday and Sunday as well. So we have a lot coming up. Coming up later today is a brand new Afternoons LATE show at 3 o'clock. Then the Evenings LATE show, which will be the last show taped on air, will give you the latest update. At the moment, I don't think the vote on the roads and bridges will happen before Evenings LATE is taped. But I will be in the live chat on Evenings LATE with you to give you the latest details about anything unfolding. Last night, I cut into Overnight's Crypto's live show to go on camera and tell you the latest update. If that unfolds again tonight, I'll do it as well. But coming up next is Afternoons LATE's 1 o'clock show. This video will automatically take you there. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes. And consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. You have a big win yesterday with the blocking of the roads and bridges. You have a big win last weekend with the passage of your $3.5 trillion RECON. Let's keep on pushing. Keep on advocating. We're not over the finish line yet, but we will be. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.